everyone, welcome back to another exciting commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Duke. Geekvolution's version of Howard the Duck.
And today, Duke and I are trapped in a commentary we never made.
Good, I was really afraid we were going to be trapped in Batman and Robin for some reason. I have to talk over you and Manos while you're here? That sounds confusing.
Yeah, Duke, that would be an odd commentary. Right? Today we're going to do a commentary on the commentary.
I'm going to nitpick the heck out of you, Cap.
So, this thing you said wasn't accurate.
You really should have counted how many times Bane said bomb. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
He said it like 5 times, probably.
Anyway, Duke and I today are gonna be doing a commentary on 1986's Howard the Duck, and we are. And I don't know if this was ever put on Blu-ray. We both have.
It is. I think it is.
Is it really? Okay. We both have the 2008 special edition, and if you're going to watch the movie with us while we're talking, make sure to get it not only past all the menus, but also past the first Universal logo, because there are 2 of them, and the first one it's the newer one, and it has its own chapter, so I just want to make sure that nobody is confused while we're watching, or you'll be perpetually 26 seconds behind us.
Unless you want to do that. This movie kind of warrants it.
Yeah, I mean, that might be...
You can just watch a different movie while this commentary is playing, and I won't blame you.
Duke recently read all of the original run of Howard the Duck.
Yes, over a few months. So I'm going to try my best to say things like about the comic. I feel like part of it was wasted time because this movie is so unlike it.
Yeah, but it's cool to have somebody that's read that stuff. Because I haven't.
I had it on hand. I didn't buy it for this. I already had.
Oh, interesting.
I had it for a while, and I needed a reason to sit down and read it, because big omnibuses like that, you really need to kind of dedicate your time to it in some form. Though there was something funny that happened to me, and I'm also going to tell a lot of anecdotes because that's how I roll. But I took a break from it for a little bit, and I was reading Dan Slott's She-Hulk. And without warning, there's a panel of Howard yelling at George Lucas. I'm just like, oh my God, this has become self-aware. Howard won't leave me alone.
Yeah, somehow your reading order knows what you're working on.
Hey, my comics know a lot of things that I don't. That's all I'm saying.
So anyway, yeah, it's always nice to bring somebody in that knows more about a character than I do, and hopefully.
I do.
So that'd be fun. I will say I've enjoyed the bits of the recent Howard the Duck that Marvel's been putting out. So those have been really good, and the Howard the Human one shot that was put out during Secret Wars was really funny.
I read that one shot. I read the first 2 issues of the ongoing, and I haven't caught up. I'm going to get the trades as they come out though, and really like Chip Zdarsky, who writes the main series. He's a really funny guy in general.
I also wanted to mention before we get started that we went ahead and picked this movie partly because I'm working on the Superhero Rewind for it, and the Rewind is likely to be out by the time this commentary comes out. But I just want to let everybody know that I have not, at the moment we're recording this, written that yet. So I like to do commentary sometimes while I'm working on a thing or before I start writing it, to kind of help me figure out what I want to say in the Rewind in the first place, and how I think about a thing. So anyway, if I happen to contradict anything I say in the Rewind or anything like that, this is still me.
I want you to nitpick everything he says in the Rewind and then point out that he never said it in the commentary.
But I'm just saying that this is me kind of getting a handle on what I want to say in the Rewind.
This is research, our friends. Research where we're gonna kind of be making jokes because this is a movie where you need to do that.
That's right. Okay, so everybody, if you're going to watch it with us, get your DVD out, and as I said, get it past that first Universal logo. If you want to listen to it as a podcast while you're
doing the laundry or going to your
airplane,
house, I don't know what you do,
or landing your airplane on a truck and just riding it that way, you can listen to this just as a podcast, and we'll do our level best to provide a little bit of context as we're talking. Are you ready, Duke?
Nope, I'm out of here.
All right. Everybody, please press play right now.
This movie was made by Universal.
It felt the need to remind us twice.
I mean, it's not like they're an indie studio. No one's ever heard of them, so they really need the exposure.
And this would have been, of course, before ET,
Yep.
so you don't have the ET flying on his bicycle around the Universal logo.
Yes, we do have a beautiful view of the city and its two moons, which is totally accurate of San Francisco. I don't know if anyone knows that, but they have two moons. They're really fancy there.
Do we ever actually go to Duck World in the comics?
No, and well, okay. I'm gonna start like saying things. Steve Gerber.
Well, that's what you're here for, Duke.
Steve
Feel
Gerber. He's the
free.
original creator of Howard the Duck, and you're gonna hear. Hopefully, you're gonna hear a few wacky stories from me about how he had so much not fun working on the book, or at least working with editorial while he was working on the book, and he hates Duck World as a concept. It was not his idea.
Oh,
It
really?
comes from the comics, but it came after he left the book.
Interesting.
Like that's the thing is he did let me bring it up here. I got the omnibus right next to me. He did like the first 25 issues or give or take, and then he left the book because he was being fed up with dealing with Marvel and Disney suing the ever living heck out of Marvel over Howard the Duck.
Oh, wow.
And when he and then the book was still popular, so they gave it to other people, and it inevitably died because none of those people really could bring the same spark that Gerber could. Like, which sounds a little mean. That you always hear that about certain books, but it's kind of the truth with this one. Um, so yeah, it was an idea that some other writer came up with in Gerber's mind. Howard comes from a planet of anthropomorphic animals who act completely like humans. They don't go into like wacky shenanigans or bob up and down or rescue their girlfriends from trains or whatever you see in cartoons. They're just regular people who happen to look like cartoons.
Yeah, and I will say that this is trying to keep that idea a little bit in that it's just a world with ducks instead of humans, but they seem a lot more fixated on the fact that they are ducks than we are with the fact that we are humans, which is a thing
It's
that you see a
almost
lot
like they
with
thought that was going to be a good enough.
anthropomorphized things.
It's almost like they thought that was going to be a good enough joke to remind you that hey, duck puns exist. Let's do that
Well,
for the first 5 minutes.
yeah, well, and honestly, to kind of float the whole movie, like that becomes a problem through the whole thing. I think that ends up kind of looking like the whole concept for the movie,
Yeah,
right?
it basically tells you this is what the movie is. If you're game for that, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's like we don't have a vision so much as just
Puns. We're here to throw
duck
jokes at.
puns. There we go. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we saw in this room. There was and I do like the attention to detail here, even if you don't think that a lot of the puns are funny. The there was an Indiana Jones poster, and if you notice at the top of it, there's a reference to. I mean, there's it's like from the makers of Beak Wars or something.
Yes.
And this being, of course, the people that this, of course, being George Lucas producing this and being the people that some of the people that worked on Star Wars and Indiana Jones, it's kind of fun that they lampooned themselves there. But that kind of stuff creates some of the inconsistency that we'll talk about later, where this is a world that is completely paralleling Earth, and the only thing that's different is that they're docks, and there will be some mentions here and there that I'll try to bring up when we get there, where I don't understand things Howard doesn't understand because this world looks exactly like ours.
Yeah. Also, I want to say another thing it'll signify is I'm wondering what this movie was marketed as. Was it marketed as a family movie? Because so much of it makes you think that it can't be, especially a scene
Yep.
that we're unfortunately coming up to very, very soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God, that's nightmare
The
inducing.
thing, the thing that makes it one of the big things that made this movie kind of infamous. Yeah. Honestly, the marketing I think was as confused as the movie is.
Yeah, well, I think
Because I
better
think the
for just
studio was really confused about it.
yeah.
When you watch the special features, yeah, Gloria Katz or somebody I forget who talks about how when they showed it to the studio, there was just no reaction at all. Like the studio heads watched it, got up and left, and said nothing. So like the studio didn't know how to market this and what to do with it. I think the biggest misstep was, oh, you know what? I never noticed this before.
That the
The
Earth is
the
shaped
planet
like an
is
egg.
is shaped like an
I
egg.
just
never
noticed that
noticed that.
too.
That's really cool, actually. I like that.
That's a subtle one.
That's funny.
That's
No,
subtle.
that's funny.
Yeah, it's funny, and that's why it's funny, because it's subtle.
Honestly, Duke, I wouldn't mind the puns and stuff nearly as much if we were just a little bit more thoughtful about characterization.
I don't
And
understand this character at all.
yeah, I don't either. And this is not me saying that you can't make a farce. Like I want to look at this movie on its own terms, but I don't think it's establishing them. By the way, let me mention, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about all that stuff. In fact, we'll have plenty of time to talk about anything we want to, because this movie is way too long
Yeah,
for what
yeah,
it
I'm
is.
looking at the time right
It's an
now.
hour. It's an hour 50 minutes, and
Also,
it feels like 3 hours.
I'm going to nitpick really goofy things, but this one gets to me. What's
Well,
with
sure,
the
but I also
narration?
yeah, I
It
wanted to
sounds
talk
like
about
it's
that
being
narrative.
narrated by a wizard. Which makes which I could, be fanboyish and make some sense out of it, because Howard the Duck showed up in Swamp Thing first, which has a wizard in it for some reason.
Cool.
But I highly doubt that's why they did that.
If you actually pay attention to what the narrator says, it's the most baffling narration ever. I don't know what it's talking about. I mean, it's basically saying, okay, there's parallel Earths, but it's not multiple dimensions. It's, I guess, all kind of just in the same cosmos, which
Also, why is
it's.
Howard being attacked by rejects from the Lost Boys right now?
But yeah, that the funniest part of that narration is you get toward the end of it, or you get to the end of it, and he's like, and in the beginning was Howard the Duck, and I don't know what that means, except
No, I
that we're at
don't.
the beginning of the film, and it's his.
He's just narrating what he sees on the movie.
I mean, what he should have said was, "You are now watching the beginning of Howard the Duck." Like, that would have made a lot more sense.
And no, you can't get refunds. And now, okay, I want to tell a story now. Um, I watched this a few days ago to, so that way I'm not completely clueless while I watch it right at this moment. And I had a friend watch it with me, and my friend knew nothing about the movie. Only knew that it was bad. I didn't tell who was in it, and that's very important, because when he found out Leah Thompson was in it, my friend went nuclear, because earlier this year he unfortunately had the displeasure of sitting through Left Behind, starring Nick Cage.
Is she in that?
She's in that, and
Oh, I didn't know that.
and he had to see that movie in a theater.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and so anytime he sees anyone,
about that, I didn't see it, but I read a couple reviews. I know what people were saying about it.
Yeah, it wasn't good, according to my friend. And he just, in the moment he's because I basically have been tormenting him every other day about seeing that movie since he's seen it, because I'm a great friend. And I didn't tell him that. And the moment he saw Leah Thompson, he just looked at me. He's like, "I hate you." You want to keep watching? Yeah.
Well, that's weird. I mean, it's not like Leah Thompson's a bad actress.
No, but that movie just irritated him, and he knew I was going to giggle about it.
Oh, I see. Earlier,
That story would only make me laugh.
This is a super tiny thing. I noticed something I hadn't noticed before. When he lands, they throw him when he lands in some trash, and there's some product placement. There's a Mountain Dew can and some stuff. I saw a thermos. And if anybody is watching this with us, and maybe I'll roll back later and find it. I wish while I was doing a commentary I could roll back and look at things, but I can't. I think it might have been a Gremlins thermos, but it definitely was some licensed movie from around this period.
Also, Howard is sporting a flock of seagulls haircut right now, which is not appropriate, because that's not a duck pun. Come on, writers.
Because he's not Howard the Gull.
That'd be stupid. And you know what? Let's say it now. Leah Thompson. Yeah. She's not bad in this movie, but I don't think anyone could save her character.
She's working her butt off, man. And I
feel that way about trained to sing for this. I'll give her credit there.
Yeah. I mean, and she says in the special features that this was a really high-profile thing at the time, and that a lot of people.
Well, I think it's. I wonder if that's just because George Lucas was a part of it, and.
Oh no, absolutely it was. Yeah, well, it was also a big-budget movie. I mean, it's really easy to look at this, especially now.
I see the money on screen in terms of.
No, me too. Yeah, it's easy to have no historical perspective and look at this as a B movie, because it watches like a B movie, but it isn't.
Also,
but boy, it's
can I say this now? This is one of the few times they show something from the comics. Howard's using quack fu at the moment. This is the
And
only
that's
time he
actually,
does it in the movie, but he's doing it.
I didn't know that was a comic book thing.
Yeah, that's from. There's a whole because one thing about Howard the Duck, the original comic, was it was basically a lot of it was spoofing other genres of comics. Like it started out just like spoofing monster movies, but then it spoofed superhero stuff. There's an issue where he spoofs kung fu, which when in the '70s was a huge thing, especially at Marvel.
Right.
And that was Steve Gerber having fun with that, and they're displaying it in this movie for 5 seconds. And this just looks really. I have the sound off, so this just looks really ridiculous. Especially the guy with the doll heads on his jacket.
Yeah, I know. That is so weird.
I mean, I know a few people who would wear that in a second, but I'm just curious as to did they find that somewhere or did someone have to make it?
Duke, there are a couple of major ideas in this movie that if they were brought more to the forefront, I think it could have been a lot more cohesive than it was, and frankly be funnier and just give us a sense of what in the world is supposed to be in the first place. Because I never know where I stand with this thing. The big one for me is this idea that Howard the Duck, who seems like a completely absurd, bizarre thing, shows up on Earth, and he's our window into the '80s.
Yes.
Which is, and I know that this is made in the '80s, but he's looking at weird street culture, and he's looking at biker gangs, and
He's
he's
getting a
looking at
culture through a very thin
drug culture.
He's getting it through a window specifically.
Right, and the point I'm making is make the world at this time look super alien to the audience and expose the absurdity of the real world.
That's how Howard the Duck normally works in most comics. Is despite being a cartoon duck, he's the most serious, down-to-earth thing there.
And I feel like they think they're doing that, and it's not working.
No, it's not. It comes off really, especially when you have a character who doesn't seem like she understands the world and is from
right.
Earth. She doesn't even know that the planet's called Earth.
Although I think that's a funny line.
That was admittedly got a chuckle.
Earth, I think, because she's not very educated, and yeah. The other thing about opening with Duck World is now this could have been awful, but just looking at what we have in hindsight, it's hard for me, Duke, not to feel like we shouldn't have spent like 10 or 20 minutes there. And the reason I say that is because we don't have very much at all until you get to a little bit of exposition in her apartment
as to what his
telling us
like.
anything about what his life is like and who he is and what he's about. One of the big missteps in that opening scene, I think, is we're looking at all these posters and things that he has in his room, and one of them is a poster from the band he used to be in called Howard and the Heartbreakers,
which is a good name for a band.
When you first see that, Duke, in the middle of all these other things that are parroting a bunch of pop culture stuff, you can't tell me that anybody who notices it isn't thinking that Howard the Duck is a famous rock star.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Because everything else is a parody of a thing except for that, because we should be thinking, oh, he's Tom Petty. Like, Howard the Duck is Tom Petty.
Okay, I would honestly kill to see them do a cover of Free Falling. Or Don't Come Around Here No More. I have a lot of favorite Tom Petty songs, but continue.
But you see why I'm saying that, yes. And then we find out that he's washed out, and that he's like really disgruntled and hasn't, lived the life he'd like to have, and that could all work just fine, especially because we could have used the what's his name, the Phil character as somebody to parallel with his life, because that guy's also kind of a loser.
He's definitely a loser. I'll agree with you.
And is somebody who has these big dreams that he doesn't know how to realize.
He wants to be a scientist. That's an admirable dream to have. Also, I'm pretty sure this movie doesn't understand what a scientist actually is, but I'll get to that.
But what I'm saying, there are a whole bunch of things that, if you look at just the skeleton of it, there's a movie here.
Yeah.
And what it should be
in a lot of places.
Yeah, and what it should be is a much more. Now, I don't want to say down to earth, because I mean, obviously, it needs to be an absurd thing with the it's an anthropomorphized duck, and it's a guy in a suit, and I mean like it needs to be kind of as absurd and quirky as it is when that absurdity is even remotely working.
The
But it
weirdest thing about
also,
this movie is Phil, Tim Robbins' character. He's the only absurd, like purposely absurd thing in it. I think
I
everything
mean,
else is absurd
to a
on by
degree.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, no, you're right. But where I was going with that real quick is it needs to allow itself to be absurd, but it also should be a smaller story than it's trying to be when you get to the third act. There's no reason to throw a big space alien thing in this.
besides
I
the
don't
fact that we
I
have
don't
the
think.
guy who made Star Wars and special effects monsters are awesome.
Well, if you're gonna do that kind of stuff, you got to seed it earlier. I mean,
Come on, Kev,
there's
it was
no reason.
perfectly built up. Look at Howard shaking right now. That's look at that. I do
And
love
see,
this non-flashback, mostly because of
which
how
is like,
freaked out Howard looks.
yeah, and that's funny looking, but it's sad because that's what passes for like character development and character traits and stuff in this movie
A
is,
truck
oh,
scared him. Look at his character.
he is the big kind of sad scary thing for Howard is he's kind of got a little bit of PTSD from being sucked into another world. Well, anybody would.
Yeah, this is a tough thing to.
That doesn't tell me anything about him in
And
particular.
also, it's really weird that he wasn't having a huge freak out moment the entire time he's been here. That was the first time we really saw him freak out. The moment he lands on Earth in that chair before he gets attacked by the goons, he's just like, "Well, this is happening." Not freaked out, just well, I better deal with this now.
So now we're getting that exposition I was talking about, and again, that's what that opening scene should have been all about. Because you think it is, like you're watching, you're like, oh, cool, we're getting information about this guy, about this doc from just the things in his apartment. Contrast that with Roger Rabbit, which does that
Oh
brilliantly.
yeah, this is
And
Bizarro Roger Rabbit, really, isn't it?
well, now again, to be fair, this is 3 years earlier. So I mean, this does
Well,
predate.
unintentionally, yeah. Sorry.
But all I'm yeah but so I mean I'm comparing, obviously I'm comparing a thing that came after it, but you look at other things that do that actually are doing that, and it's kind of sad because that's what that scene should have been like. You learn so much about Eddie Valiant based on what's inside of his office, and by the way, this kind of should have been something closer to what Roger Rabbit would be as far as the tone of it,
Yeah.
because again, you listen to Katz in the interviews on the DVD talking about how that book was a like comedy parody noir thing, and you're like, what are you talking about? That's not what your movie is.
Yeah. That's what I
Like,
said the moment she said that. Like, what?
why is it she gets that material kind? I mean, she at least
I
understands
don't
what it
know.
is.
I
That's not
found an
what they
interview that
made.
said like everyone's like it's this deep, sardonic uh, thought piece, and she's like, no, it's not. It's a story about a cartoon duck. Like she seems so contradictory to me, and I don't know. And again, I don't know if that's her like with prepared notes telling you something to make her sound like she did understand it. I don't know if she did
Yeah.
that later to make her to say. I have no idea. This happened years ago. We're never going to know the true story. That's all I can tell you there.
Well, and the way she takes up for the movie is well, everybody's taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a silly farcical thing. You either get it or you don't get it. And my answer to that is and folks that really do really like this movie. It's got a cult following. That's cool. There are things that are funny, but to me, it's just not cohesive. Like I don't understand it, and I don't I kind of don't think it understands itself.
I feel so bad for the people who had to make these props, by the way, that we're looking at. Just come up with duck puns. Do it. Also, again, I don't get this movie because okay, let's look at an example of a good family movie, a movie that kids and adults can like. And then let's look at Howard the Duck that just doesn't seem to service anybody because kids aren't going to understand or care, and parents are going to scoff at all the weird adult things and think it's kind of weird.
It is fascinating to me that Leah Thompson did this right after Back to the Future,
That is very
because
odd.
because Back to the Future walks that line perfectly. It is exactly that.
Oh yeah.
It is a family movie that's got these really, really adult undertones, and kids aren't gonna get the whole it's weird that you're sort of dating your own son thing.
Hmm.
And that movie gets away with so much, like, really just kind of messed up stuff because it gets what it is, and it finds a way to strike that balance. And it's not playing that stuff up as like a gratuitous thing. It's a really interesting thing to explore, so they do it thoughtfully. This movie needed to decide if it was going to be raunchy or not.
Yeah, it's a class case of it doesn't know what it wants to be,
Yeah.
which is the
Um,
ultimate problem with it. And okay, no one's okay. A few people are looking, but I feel like police would be stopping a woman doing this right now.
it's like whatever is in there is clearly moving
If
around.
I okay, if I can get stopped by security at the mall I work at for taking in a bag that just wasn't from a store that I was going to, this woman should be carded for something. Come on. Also, we're about to meet the silliest thing in the movie.
Yeah, when you have a movie called Howard the Duck, the last thing on earth you need is a comic relief character.
Or at least something like this, because I'd say Howard Beverly kind of, I would say, is that comic
That
relief
laugh, man.
character, but she doesn't act like this. Also,
Well, no,
I
no,
want to I
exactly.
want to just know one thing.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to make Tim Robbins this way? Was it him? Was it the director? Was it a case of like how Tommy Lee Jones treated Batman Forever and realized he was in a comic book movie and said, I can act like a goofball? I want to know who said this was okay. Because this is the most distractingly weird part of the movie.
No, it absolutely is. And I mean, he is a straight up cartoon character. And if the movie was communicating its intentions better, you could maybe make that work. Like you've got your Doc,
Mm-hmm.
who is supposed to be the most down to earth thing in the movie, and then you contrast that with the humans, who from his perspective seem totally insane and he doesn't understand them. And so you could kind of have a character that is, as in human form, what you would expect the Duck to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad
No, it's
idea.
not. But the thing that's really weird is he's the only character who acts like this. So it just seems kind of odd. How does this guy interact with people?
Yeah, and that's great, Duke, because at the end of the day, I don't understand how heightened this world is supposed to be,
And I want to state
right?
something. If I'm noticing this, that's a problem. Because I'll forgive like wacky shenanigans and a lot of things. I'm gonna be playing Saints Row 4 with my brother soon, which is a game that's full of madness and every character acts like Blumbert to an extent, but they more human. That's the thing. The least human thing is shockingly not the duck or the weird alien that'll show up later. It's this guy.
Yeah, and again, not in a good way. Like that could totally work.
Yeah, like again, like if you toned him down and maybe brought a few other people up to his level, because I feel like because Liam
We just need
Thompson,
a
I feel like
consistent.
is trying to play this as a comedy with some wacky things happening, but plays
Yeah,
like a person, not a smart person, but a person.
a person. Yeah.
This guy acts like he's in like one of those awful parody movies they make nowadays.
Yeah, well, and that they were making then. I mean,
Yeah.
this came out the same year as I wanted to bring this up somewhere. This came out the same year as Return of Captain Invincible. I
And
mean,
I've
there.
seen only clips of that movie. Everyone acts more like a human being than this guy does.
Oh yes, and that movie has a much more consistent tone. I
Exactly.
get that movie before I get this movie, and it was a real B movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a studio movie, and it's really hard to get your mind around that when you
Also,
watch it, because it has so much in common with a lot of like I don't know horror and mostly horror, but also I guess kind of action B movies. This thing has a food fight.
yeah, also, I'm really confused by this visual. Are they all imagining that it's changed into the evolutionary chain of
That's
like
a
our
great point.
species?
Yeah. Whose head are we in right now? And what's great is Howard says every school duck knows this stuff, and it really does feel like we're all imagining the same thing.
I know, like I'm. I'm
That's
going to
great.
assume Blumbert's thinking this because that's his last name, and it's funnier to say that out loud. And even Leah Thompson's looking at him as, "What are you talking about?" But I don't know.
We've been talking over lots of things that would be fun to talk about. Explain to me, Duke, why Phil thinks that because Howard came from another planet, he must have superpowers.
For the same reason that well, okay. Here's the thing I want to point out because the line's coming up fairly soon, and this is why I think this movie doesn't understand how scientists work because he's like, "Oh, I'm not a scientist. I'm a lab assistant. Once I become a scientist, I get a museum." What does that mean? Do
No,
you
but it's
get
not
one the moment you
necessarily.
graduate?
No. It's not necessarily Duke the movie not getting what science is. The point of this character is that he's like like out of touch and has this skewed view of what the world
Cap.
is,
I'm
and that
sorry, I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at that cool
he's
statue of a dinosaur made out of metal. That thing's awesome and more interesting than everything else. Sorry, I'm being stupid. Anyway,
But yeah, he's supposed to be really unrealistic in a movie that doesn't have an internal logic, and that's why it doesn't work.
mm-hmm. Yes,
I mean,
and also,
that's
can
the
I
whole that's the
say this now? The thing leading up, like their whole breakup here, I don't understand why this needs to be here because this literally only lasts like 10 minutes, maybe
we're
even
wasting
less.
time. I mean, like the
This
movie
movie
doesn't really
stalls,
start.
which is weird, and
The
also one of
Yeah,
those kids has movie eyebrows. Sorry, I got distracted. That's the problem with this movie. I see really stupid things in the background that are far more interesting than the movie itself.
the movie doesn't really
Movie
start
cut.
until about 50 minutes in.
Okay, so, yeah, and
And even when it does, it still finds ways to stall out really hard. It's weird. I mean, like essentially what it thinks it's doing is it's got this guy who comes from another planet who is really brutish about being lost and can't figure out what to do with himself, and it's supposed to be sort of a, for lack of a better term, because I know it thinks it's just a farce thing and it's not really about anything, but then it also wants to sort of be just a character piece for a second of like the stranger in a strange land. But A, I don't understand who this person is, and B, there's not any character progression. So he kind of just walks around and does
yeah, do we
things,
need to
and
see him do this right now? Do we need to see him get a job? Do we? Do we need this woman in our face right now?
no, but I do think this is one of the funnier scenes in the movie.
I don't know. I like the bit earlier where that guy was like looking at Howard, like trying to eat a sandwich, and yeah, Howard scares him off and he runs away. I thought
It
that
just
was funny
cracks
just
me up.
because that guy didn't leave.
It just cracks me up when she says, "You think just because you look controversial," and I think that's pretty funny.
This woman is making the best of her role. I will agree
Oh
with
yeah,
you.
no,
I
she's
love.
great.
By the way, I just noticed this Howard's shirt has googly eyes on it from the horse.
That's awesome.
See what I mean by there are things in this movie that are far more interesting and funnier than what they're trying to do.
Well, and that's because again, it's got production value, and there's a bunch of people working on this that are trying to
Yeah,
make it great. It just doesn't have a script.
yeah.
I mean, it's funny because we haven't talked yet about the
It sucks
animatronics,
when your
and
movie doesn't have one of those. Sorry.
we haven't talked at all about the animatronics, and they
Oh
don't
no,
really
I think it
bother
looks
me. I mean,
fine
like
for the time.
he's not real expressive, but then again, neither were the Ninja Turtles, and it's kind of I mean as expressive as you might hope for if you were gonna animate it or something. But then that worked a little better just because the Ninja Turtle, and again I know that was 4 years after this, but the Ninja Turtles were in shadow and darkness a lot,
Mm-hmm. They,
and he's right
that's the
out in the
thing
middle of the
about
light,
a
so
costume like
everything's
that.
exposed all the time. Yeah.
That's the thing about effects like that is you use shadow as shadow's your friend because you want to try and hide imperfections if it doesn't look 100% perfect. Half the time, Howard's in like bright daylight or in broad lighting or in this weird scene that I don't get what's happening. Again, this whole section could be cut and you wouldn't miss anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't, Duke. I don't think there's more than about 40 minutes of story in this whole movie.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, honestly, what we have here, story-wise, is the pilot for a TV show.
Also, I take back what I said. This guy is acting at the same level of absurdity as Phil is right now. The guy who's throwing Howard into a hot tub.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know how absurd the actual world is supposed to be. What we should have done is we should have made Duck World seem like a more normal place than our planet.
Yeah, that's basic. You basically described Howard the Duck, the comic. Yeah.
Now, there are a couple of things that a couple of passes to a degree, although I still think we could have made a way better movie, that you have to give the producers and the director of this movie. They wanted to make an animated feature, and the studio wouldn't let them.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if we were ever going to bring that up.
I want to talk about that because I remember thinking the first time I saw this, man, we should have just animated it. There's no way you would have made this movie if it was animated. But the reason that didn't happen was because the studio really needed a movie for a certain slot like the next year, so they had to rush it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the studio wasn't going to let them not put in Duck World because studios sometimes think audiences are idiots, and we can't just have a conceit. We have to do an origin thing. So what it should have been, and again, they didn't want to do a Duck World according to Katz. She says, and I don't mean to just keep mentioning stuff in the special features, but I'm commenting on that, not just.
It's kind of the only window we have into the movie, so
that's it, yeah. So what she says is, well, we weren't going to do Duck World, but they were like, we have to have, the studio forced us to. We have to have that background. Oh, that's my favorite line of the whole movie. That's a duck, man!
I'm telling you, man, I'm not on drugs today.
I love that guy. That's a duck! That's a duck,
That guy was
man!
striving for the same level of acting as that guy from Superman who's like, nah, suit!
I'm also reminded of, he stole that guy's pizza!
Yeah, I feel like that's a role you need to see once in a while in a comic book movie.
That's a duck, man! Okay, somebody explain to me how this kind of this kind of convenience would happen where every TV is playing something about ducks.
Yeah, that just seems. And I love how he looked at Daffy Duck and said, "Oh my God, that could happen to me."
You have to make this. Yeah. It can, because that's a cartoon. But then I think this is sort of also supposed to be a cartoon. Oh, also, is there ever anything like an explanation, Duke, for why the portal thing, or the laser thing that the scientists shoot out specifically goes into his living room and pulls him out? Like, why?
That would be forethought. What? Also, can I nitpick something right now? I want to nitpick something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, at the moment, she is singing a song that was playing 10 minutes ago during the movie.
Yeah.
I wondered if, could she hear the song and then she convinced the band to cover it?
Yeah, is this a cover, or did they cover her song?
Yeah, that's so weird to me.
That's absolutely bizarre. There's no reason you needed like rock music in that scene. Like, that you should have just used, whatever your soundtrack is.
Yeah, or just Sound of the Rain to point out that it's raining or whatever the heck.
And again, this score thinks it's a serious movie.
Really? And isn't it scored by Thomas Dolby?
Honestly,
I think it is. The guy who made She Blinded Me with Science, I believe, scored.
Oh, that's hilarious! Really?
Yeah, which I'll say this: the music of this movie's not bad. There are things in this movie that, again, production-wise, it's not bad. It's just
I have a problem with it, but there could be some wonderful juxtaposition by having a score that serious in a movie that's not.
Yes. And
it just helps to confuse it.
It's Confusion, the movie. We're going to repeat that a bunch of times.
Yeah, and I've probably already been a bit redundant.
This movie itself is redundant, so I don't blame you. Also, half of these people look like they're not from the same decade.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I think I just recognized the guy from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Duke, I'm sorry, we can't roll backwards, man.
He's coming up again.
Okay.
He's wearing like a goofy Amish hat and has a mustache. He's one of the two guys who tries to take Princess Toadstool in the movie. I know this is so... That guy right there. That guy,
yeah, you're right. That is who that is.
That guy has a great legacy.
Well, he didn't age at all in 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, he has better hair in this movie and a cooler hat. Again, he looks like he came out of a Western. Even these guys are like, "Do you see what I'm seeing, guys?" Like,
Well, and it's weird because everybody, like, just for whatever a scene, whatever, and I guess this movie is basically plotted for jokes, and
it's
the problem
comedy
is a lot of them
and
just aren't. Yeah, but the problem is a lot of them just aren't funny to me, and it also, again, isn't really presenting itself as as a skeleton plot for a joke a minute. I mean, we haven't talked about this, but the whole problem with the film is the pacing, right?
yeah, because there are whole chunks of it you could cut out and feel like nothing was lost.
One scenes a lot of the time go on too long,
Like
and like I
this
said, it's
scene, especially where
it's
you have.
almost 2 hours, and it feels like three to me.
Yeah, it also doesn't help that Howard's trying to be intimidating, and the most intimidating he sounds like someone screwed up his order, and he's just really miffed.
Well, which is funny because later on we'll see someone screw up his order.
Oh, not even screw up his order. He thinks they're
Just
feeding him.
bring him
They
eggs.
think that they're turning him into a cannibal, which there. That's the
Well,
thing about this movie is there are jokes that make no sense because they're the wrong kind of bird.
well, also because we don't have any context for things, and I mean, like, there's just a lot of things where there's no internal logic. Like, I guess we'll get to that scene later, but when they bring him his eggs, it's like, well, did he order something?
Also,
Did he not have to order? Did just everyone in that restaurant gets the same thing whenever you
I
sit
like to
down?
ask another important question here.
I don't understand that.
I go back to was this movie marketed as a children's film? I wish I could go inside the mind of people who thought this was a children like a family movie, and then got to this scene where our main character nearly murders a man with an ice pick.
Yeah.
I want to see. I want to show someone who does not know this movie at all, tell them it's a family movie, and watch their reaction.
And then do get your mind around in 1986, this movie was rated PG.
Yeah, and that weird scene with the female duck in the bathtub confuses me on how it got
Well,
that rating.
yeah, and I mean, I don't
Honestly,
know what the
many scenes in this
standards
movie, but
were
that scene's just creepy
as far as nudity and stuff, and maybe that just didn't count as nudity for some
because
reason
it's
because it
not a
was a
human
puppet.
being.
I don't, or not a puppet, but like suit. I don't know, but
Those rules are
uh,
always confusing to me.
I'm pretty sure that 86 was still early enough that there was no PG-13 yet.
Yeah,
I may
yeah,
have to
I'm
look
pretty
that,
sure.
but I think that we didn't have that. We had a jump where it was PG to R, and but you would have thought that that scene alone would have maybe given it an R rating.
I don't know. There are some PG movies where you see nudity.
Oh, are there really? Okay. Well, I mean, the standards
Actually, I
changes.
think Airplane's a PG, technically a PG movie at the time. Yeah, it
What?
is. At the time, it was rated
Airplane
PG.
airplane has nudity?
Yeah, there's a very, very infamous scene where like everyone's panicking and a woman for no reason just walks into the
Oh,
camera frame
that's
topless.
right. That's right.
For no reason other than wouldn't it be wacky if that happened?
I will. I don't mind going on record and saying that it always has made more sense to me that movies would be given those higher ratings for like really violent things before a few seconds of nudity.
Yeah,
So I
one
mean,
of those
like
weird
in
things
my
we're confused about.
in my mind, that makes a little bit more sense. The way they did it back then makes a little bit more sense to me now than what we do now.
Because
But
I'd argue more kids are going to see that stuff in their natural life than, say, a man's skull crushed in, but whatever.
yeah, and I mean, we can
Sorry, we're
do.
commenting on society. That's not our job.
No, it's
That's
not.
Howard
But
the Duck, the comic books job.
I am going to be really interested to see, and this will date this commentary. But I am going to be interested to see just how far Suicide Squad goes.
Yeah,
It's like
because I'm kind of
that's going to be
imagining.
rated PG-13, and I'm pretty sure that I mean even some of the stuff that that you see on TV these days, like some of the stuff Gotham gets away with at like what 8 or 9 o'clock at night
Yeah, Gotham gets away
on a
with
Monday.
existing. Come on.
Anyway, so Howard the Dog,
And here we
oh,
are.
astrophysicist.
Yes. Also, I
Yeah.
can't believe that this man has dated any of the women in this room. Also, because I can't believe this man knows how to date.
Yeah, and like
What's a
I
pizza?
don't buy the
Wait a minute. Wait a
idea.
minute. Wait a minute. I'm reading the
Yes,
line. Howard
that's
doesn't
the
know
big
what a
one.
pizza is.
That's thank you. That's the big one. That's the one I wanted to bring up. Thank you for mentioning that. So his world evolved so that they have Star Wars and Indiana Jones and no pizza.
Yeah. What
That
a
makes no
horrible world
sense.
they live in.
I don't understand that. I mean, like, we already had, I think, earlier the line of, like, oh, Howard's world is almost exactly like us except dogs. And there's really no reason anything should be different just with the premise that we have already. Now, I will say, obviously, it should evolve totally differently, but I don't mind the conceit.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they have fewer fingers should change everything.
It is very key. That's the thing is when you construct an alien race in any kind of form of fiction, sometimes you just don't think of the details. You just think, how cool would it look? Or whatever.
For whatever reason, and again, it's a conceit. I don't mind it, but for whatever reason, I think it would be a little bit of an easier pill to swallow if that was a parallel Earth dimension,
Yeah.
as opposed to just a world in our universe.
Again, there are some scenes in this movie that are even more absurd when there's no sound, and this is one of them.
So, why isn't Howard? Well, I guess he was sort of mad at her earlier when they split up for a minute, but why isn't he more questioning of her why she ever took him to that guy? Because, like, she hates that guy most of this movie. And I guess it's just, well, I know one scientist person, but the way she brings it up in the first place is kind of like, you don't get the sense that it's somebody that she just, can't stand. By the way, there's no question in my mind why Howard didn't make it as a musician.
Yeah, he was really afraid of the equipment he's using right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. But also, he had a natural reaction to something making a scary noise, but still, you think he would know it would make noise.
That's not what I mean. This song is inspired.
I mean, I'm trying. I can kind of wrap my head around. I don't think she really ever liked Phil. I think she just took him because he bragged up to his girlfriend, "Oh, I'm a scientist" or whatever, and
yeah,
she's dumb enough to obviously believe that. Also, this is the least crazy Leah Thompson's hair looks. Because the scene before it looks like it's about to pounce on you.
Yeah, and the special feature, she complains that they didn't put her in a wig.
Yeah, it was
She's
the 80s.
Like,
I'm sure
they kept smoking my hair. I don't know. I don't know how I have hair.
It was the 80s. That's all I can tell you.
Yep.
And hey, Kev, you want me to tell you about the legal issues behind Howard the Duck? Because I don't want to talk about the scene that's coming up.
Yeah, but I do, Duke. So
fine, it's your show. Blow me for this, Cap.
No, I will only say this, Duke. So this scene where at first you think maybe they're gonna actually sleep together, and try to somehow make that work, and then it turns out that both of them at different points are just kidding, and it's such an awkward scene, and it's not just awkward because it's trying to be awkward. I mean, the idea is, obviously we're supposed to be repelled by this. But I don't know what either of them is doing through most of the scene.
Can I say something? I want to steal a joke because SF Debris did covered this movie, right. And he had a joke that was funny, and I can't help but not think of it whenever I ever see the scene again. You know, Duck's anatomy down there is shaped like a corkscrew, right? How are you supposed to make this work? I'm curious as to how this is supposed to work.
Well, it makes me start questioning logic that you just don't even want your brain to go to, right? Like you start thinking.
I know this is all a prank, but I don't know any girl who would go this far as a joke.
Yeah, and I'm also never completely trusting what they're telling me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they're telling me that both of them are kidding, but I have a hard time not thinking, especially with the ending, that if Howard wasn't totally into this, that she wouldn't just totally go for it. I know this is probably not the way the scene is meant to be interpreted, but it's really hard for me not to watch this and not think both of them are pretending that they're kidding.
Yeah. Also, I want to bring up because there was that weird thing where like his feathers go up.
I don't know. Right.
I want to know. Did the writer or director tell them what that was meant for? Okay, yeah, we can make its head do that. Why? We're not telling you. You don't need to know. Just do it.
We just want him to suddenly have a feather mohawk. That's it.
It'll be funny. I promise. That's this movie in a nutshell. It'll be funny.
This relationship defies the laws of nature. That line's funny.
Yeah, it kind of.
But I
Can
mean,
I
like,
talk a little?
is these scientists walking in on them supposed to be like just this
Also, the
really
guy in the
funny thing?
middle is just weirdly. Okay, they're all are, but the guy in the middle weirds me out the most.
I
Mostly
mean, if
because the way the curtain is, it looks like he's peeking over.
if you were gonna make that, I think if you were gonna make that scene funnier, what you do is you just have them laying in bed together, like she talked about in the first place, where they were just gonna watch TV or something,
Yeah, and then have
and
them
then just
into
have them walk
something.
up and in silhouette, it looks like they're doing something they're not. Like that it should be that scene,
So
right?
do the Austin Powers gag a decade early? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm up for
Well,
that.
Austin Powers is not the first thing to ever do
I
anything like
know,
that.
but that's the first thing I could think of. I'm not a genius, Cap.
I mean, I'm not saying it would be brilliant comedy,
You were saying I'm
but
not a genius. How dare you?
that's not brilliant comedy.
No, it's not. Man, I can't believe I'm
But I
watching
don't
this
know.
footage, by the way. We watched a guy with a protractor. This is fascinating. I feel like I don't know. I can't think of a space where I can. So I want to talk about some of the legal issues around
Yeah, go
stuff.
ahead. Sorry.
I don't know how I connect it, but I'll try. Now I want you to imagine what was the first. What would be the big reason why Disney would be mad at Marvel about Howard the Duck? Just I want you to come up.
Cause it's a duck.
No, it's because he's not wearing pants.
But why would Disney?
Well, here's why. That you are right. That it being a duck, they did find like, oh, that copy. They wasn't. They
It's
weren't
too much
mad
like
that it
Donald the Duck.
existed. They were mad that it looked very much because early Howard the Duck looked very inspired by Donald Ducks.
By Donald Duck. Yeah.
And
Okay.
when they threatened to sue Marvel, they basically they gave him a bunch of guidelines like you need to change this, this, and this. And one of them was he needs to wear pants. That was someone at Disney had to write that memo down and send it to Marvel. And it's really funny because the way things are now that Disney was trying to almost shut them down over that. And
Which is hilarious because yeah, Disney owns this
I
property
want to know
now.
what Steve I can't remember when he passed away. I think it was before the buyout, but I kind of
Oh,
wonder what
really?
he
Okay.
because again, Gerber has a long history, mostly surrounded by Howard the Duck, with dealing with Marvel and
Well, of course. I mean, his book was pretty
yeah,
risque.
yeah. Oh, for the time it was, and I don't think, well, you could do something like that, but it would definitely be called an homage. One of those weird. It needed the egg needed to happen before the chicken comes, or something like that.
I mean, you can do stuff even a lot more raunchy and risque than that at
And
Marvel now. I think.
it's also insane that Marvel published a book like that. But another thing
Yeah,
I want to
and
bring
in
up,
universe, or was it in universe?
yeah, it was in. Actually, you know what? That sets up a story of mine. In the '90s, Gerber was kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
A baby? Oh.
Close. No, he was invited back to Marvel to work on like a special one shot for like teaming up Spider-Man and Howard, and he agreed. Like Tom Brevoort convinced him that it was going to be like a fun little blast from the past, and he had the cool idea of crossing it over with something else he was working on. He created a character in the '80s called Destroyer Duck, and he
Oh, I
created
didn't
it.
know that was him.
He created it with the sole purpose of using all the profits from it to fund his legal defense to get the rights to Howard back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and at the time he was working with Eric Larson, and they were doing a Savage Dragon Destroyer Duck crossover. And he had a funny idea of, since I'm doing this project right now, what if we did like a funny semi crossover between the two books, where in the Marvel issue, Howard and Spider Man would be meeting Savage Dragon Destroyer Duck, but they would set it up to where like it's that issue of Spawn where you obviously know that's Superman, but they shadow it so they can get away with it.
Yeah.
They wanted to do that, and vice versa. And then Steve Gerber found out that because he was going into it thinking, oh, it's a one-time deal. You guys aren't going to, use the character past that. You're just doing something fun. No, they had like a dozen other appearances lined up for him, and that made him angry again. So he did something fascinating to me in the Savage Dragon thing when they meet Howard and Spider Man and Beverly. They set up this weird thing where there's another like quote unquote fake Howard and fake Beverly. And at the end of it, Spider-Man accidentally takes the fake Beverly and Howard back to his universe. And it's Steve Gerber in a bizarre meta way saying, I have Howard now, you guys have a fake.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I know people who stay very strict that it's still the fake Howard. Like, shut up.
What is she like in the comics compared to this movie?
A lot smarter. She doesn't say really stupid things like, I think it's called Earth. she's basically, I don't know how to put this, because
Is she still a rock star?
I don't think so. I mean, there was a bit where, again, my memory's really bad, and I'm trying my best. There was a bit in the series where Howard runs for president.
That's awesome.
And they like get a photo where it looks like if I'm right, the scene was she's taking a bath and Howard accidentally falls into the bathtub because of wacky hijinks. And someone got a photo of it and made it look like that, like, oh, your president is having an affair with this woman. I remember that. I can't remember a whole lot. I'm trying, but I don't.
You gotta find the skeletons in the duck's closet.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. But yeah, she was kind of just along for the ride and acted like the human. Honestly, there are times where it felt like I was reading a really weird version of Doctor Who, where she's the companion and Howard's just kind of accepting it and going along with it and explaining things as they go along. But except Howard's far more grumpy, or at least like the same level of Peter Capaldi, who's very grumpy.
See, Howard has so much regard for life. He's like, so things exploded. Is that gonna delay my takeoff?
And that was kind of the moment watching this movie where I realized, there's no saving this guy. Because the real reaction to hearing someone say that is someone died.
I mean, then of course we just have kind of at the end the obligatory, oh, Howard cares about people now and he does the selfless thing.
You have a character arc now.
I never buy that. Yeah, I never quite buy. Although, I mean, he's still more likable than Phil is.
Still more likable than
never
cop who
grows up at all and stays a coward the whole time, and toward the end does a super cowardly thing on the airplane, and Howard never calls him on it.
Yes. Also, I love how they're like, Howard's telling him off, Beverly's in the background going, yeah! Every good supporting character should do that. And now we get to watch this, which is another way to sum up this movie. Now we get to watch this.
It really does think a lot of the time that it's kind of a more adult farce, and other times like it's not.
Like hanging out in that weird airplane thing later.
Yeah, that feels like it's a little bit more for the family audience and the kids.
Also, I'm really happy they didn't take his underwear off.
If it was supposed to be because you have to assume that it's that would probably be anatomically correct.
Or again,
anatomically incorrect.
Anatomically correct for either a human or duck. Either way, it's gross.
Yeah, either way, it's don't do that. Yeah, just don't do that. That's another way we can describe
it. Just don't do that. The Howard Duck story.
Just don't do that. And the sheer number of times somebody gets handcuffed in this movie too.
I also love that this cop.
Okay, I guess it's twice, but for a long time.
Should we give credit to Should we talk about the guy in the Howard suit? Because the people who I think there was two or three, at least two, they got a Razzie for their performance, and I'm thinking that's a little mean.
That's not fair.
That's not fair to them.
You could give the movie a Razzie. I think
it did get the Razzie
just for the script and the package. But
and maybe Tim Robbins.
What is there to really complain about the performance versus what he's given?
Yeah, and not to mention, if you're complaining about the voice acting, there are humans in this movie who are more badly dubbed than Howard is.
That's a really good point. Now we will notice some places where his mouth doesn't move, where I get the sense that they decided they needed a line of dialogue.
You say something, but his mouth's not. Say it!
Oh, right there. That's one of them.
Yeah.
When he says, "Let's go." Yeah, I can't believe I
He's a
lined that up like that,
ventriloquist.
dude.
Wow, this guy has
That
a lot
wasn't
of
a
talents.
Yeah, he's a ventriloquist. Just like later, they'll think Jennings is with Howard, even though he's nowhere near his hand.
Oh,
That
this
was weird.
I I feel so bad for what Jeffrey Jones has to go through in this movie because I feel like he is also genuinely trying,
Oh yeah,
and he has to
definitely is.
wear all of this makeup, and it gets put on layer by layer, and yeah,
Oh yeah, he gets turned into the Emperor from Star Wars, no doubt.
the Emperor from Star Wars, that we had terrible scoliosis.
He sort of later on sort of looks like that too. There, later on when he starts turning into the Dark Overlord of the universe, and he says, "I'm something else." My wife quotes that all the
You know
time.
what I also quote? I also quote like when it's the bit where he's like in disguise with like the hard hat and they talk about the power and he's like 1 million kilowatts.
Oh, we're about to get the yeah,
And
yeah.
I only love that bit because there's another joke from SF Debris I always love where I'll say it now. There's a bit where he absorbs the power of the truck he's in by sticking his tongue in the cigarette lighter,
Yeah.
and he's just like, "Wow, power, enough power to keep your coffee warm, but power." And then when he goes over to that, he says the kill a lot line. The joke that he inserts is, "That's a lot of cigarette lighters." I just love that stuff. Also, I love how they're trusting this guy to drive, despite the fact that he at least looks really bad in shape.
Well, that's the thing is that both of them are completely oblivious for the next 20 minutes about
I
him,
mean,
and
again,
it's
we all
hilarious.
thought he
Like
was dead until he walked up. I wouldn't let someone like that drive a car.
I feel like most people at least understand the basic concept of possession.
Or, I wouldn't automatically trust someone if I started noticing them going, I don't feel right. Well, okay, you should drive. Here's the
Although
car.
I do, I do like her line. We'll stop off at a bathroom. I think that's kind of
That
funny.
will fix everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, once again, this movie needs to be consistently a particular kind of absurd before we can get here and not be our minds completely blown
Yeah,
that they actually have him say the line, "I'm something else."
I mean, how else are we
If I
supposed to know he's the bad guy, Cap?
Duke, if I'm, and we are exactly an hour in already. If we or finally, if we are an hour into the movie and it's supposed to be a total farce, don't take it seriously at all kind of movie, I should be laughing at that line in a different way than I am.
Yeah, it's quotable for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. This movie's just weird in the wrong kind of way most of the time.
Also, I can't tell. I love how Howard's trying to steer it, but Jenny's still steering it. I don't get what's happening. Mostly because I feel like they're doing that thing in movies where they're just sort of pretending like they're driving and they're like moving the steering wheel uncontrollably. Just pretend like you're out of control. I don't mean in the car. I mean in the movie. It's totally off the rails.
And then we're gonna spend a ridiculous amount of time in this diner.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in this diner. Oh, they thankfully didn't break the window.
I like the sound effect of that window.
Yeah,
That's pretty fun. That's pretty funny.
I'm dead. Yes, you are. Sorry.
That's so weird because that gives you the idea that maybe he's actually totally like
Take.
taken Jennings out he's dead in his own body, but then later on he takes over again.
Yeah, and then he gets out of the body. Like Cajun sushi.
Cajun sushi, yeah, that's hilarious.
That is outrageous, and I know someone who would eat that. That's the
No,
thing is I
no,
do
I
remember
love
because
that.
I've watched this movie before. I watched it years ago, and I didn't see that, so I was really confused as to why everyone in this diner had headbands. Especially
Yeah,
how
and
this guy doesn't. Like there are people who don't, and I don't get it.
but again, an hour in, I get the sense that the tone that we have right now is a lot more what this movie is supposed to be overall.
Yeah, like this is something. Right, like I feel like this was supposed to be absurd on purpose. But I
Yeah,
have a question though. This
yeah.
place specializes in Cajun sushi. Why do they get served eggs?
I don't know, and why is that the default thing they bring you if you don't order anything?
Exactly.
Unless
Again, I
Howard
know the
ordered
real reason
something and
why.
they brought him the wrong thing, but I
Exactly.
don't remember seeing him
Let's
order
say the
anything.
real reason why. Because we needed to have that joke in there because
Because that joke's got to be in there.
yeah, like that's the actual reason. They didn't set it up at all. It just
Duke, there is so much of people just doing random things that nobody would ever do, including the Dark Overlord. He does things that I just, Duke, don't buy any Dark Overlord would ever do.
yeah, I
And
don't buy him doing it. I don't buy him being angry that they took his eggs.
yeah, that was especially because he just said, "I don't need human food
Well,
now."
you are at a diner, so you're safe.
So I don't understand that because like she says, "Oh, you have to order something," and he's like, "Okay, okay, 3 specials and 3 beers." So that okay, so they do. So their special is eggs, I guess, at the Cajun.
Yeah.
I missed
Hey,
that
by the
line
way, I
before.
never just blindly say, "Give me the special" when I go somewhere.
So that makes her stupid for not checking to see what the special was in the first place, or knowing it and thinking that the duck's going to eat eggs. And secondly,
Well, in her
why
defense, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but in the waitress's defense, she thought it was a Halloween costume.
although it is really funny later on when
When she
when she said,
realizes it's not
"Wait a minute,
October.
Halloween was last month." I'm like, right, because Halloween's the only time anybody would ever wear a costume.
Well, this was before Comic Con came in
Oh no, that's
prominence,
true.
so I wouldn't buy
That's true.
people cosplay at a diner.
The Nexus of Sominus thing is funny
Mm-hmm.
because he brings that up, and then right at the end of the movie, the computer knows what Sominus is.
Well, computers know everything, Cap.
And it makes me wonder if that's a thing that just like we knew where it was, and the Dark Lords of Overlords of the Universe just happened to call it what we call it, or if that's what they call it, and somehow that computer just knows what the aliens of that planet call their planet.
Apparently, Microsoft's is the operating system's base code just had it programmed in there for some reason. Bill Gates knows something that we don't.
Don't get that close to his face. That's a bad idea. But yeah, he's about to do a really stupid thing,
Don't get
which
that close
is
to someone with a mustache like that. You don't know what's in there.
he's about to bring out what will become the MacGuffin for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why he pulls that out. I like it's really important that he keeps it concealed, and he's dumb enough to be like, because of the exposition, I must show you this
Oh, I
thing.
want to repeat a line that I always say, and it's from your rewind of the first Power Rangers movie, because the script says so.
Because the script says so. That's right.
And this movie suffers from that phrase too much.
There's a lot of that. Yeah,
Hostility is like a
it's
psychic
a
boomerang.
psychic boomerang. I love that line. That's pretty funny.
Yes. Just bring beer.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
pretty great.
admit that, well, I could see anyone doing that. Oh no, he's destroying ketchup. The fiend! Condiment
Yeah.
King's gonna be
Yeah.
angry at him.
That guy is really menacing. He blows up ketchup with his eyes.
Hey, hey, Condiment King would be terrified of that man.
Actually, your powers are not growing because here pretty soon you're going to need a lot of power because your powers are getting faint.
Oh, I mean, Cap.
So
I
that
mean,
line
Cap.
makes
We
no
don't know.
sense.
Maybe like an hour ago, before he couldn't blow up ketchup bottles, maybe he could only destroy like packets of salt.
Or, or maybe the idea is his powers are growing in that he can do more things than he could earlier if only he has enough power.
Like,
I don't know. Should I Duke? Let me ask you now because we've got like almost another hour. Should I attempt to make any sense out of this story?
why the heck not, Cap? I would love you if you tried to make sense. I would love you to fit this into the Marvel Cinematic Continuity.
Oh, that's great. I would love to know what his motivation is beyond we're just evil and
They have to fill their quota, Cap.
oh okay.
Their evil quota. They have to start drinking martinis really bizarrely. Call back.
See what does he think that he's using a remote control in his pocket? Like
I don't know.
That thing must be the dummy, and he's the ventriloquist. Also, he makes Howard insult the guy, which is what you do with ventriloquist dummies, and then he's all mad. He's like, "Did you make him say that?" It's like, well, he didn't say anything more insulting than you'd get at a stage show with a ventriloquist. I don't understand.
Yeah, and not to
Oh
mention,
no,
this is
look,
almost
he's
as
doing.
funny as a ventriloquist act.
No,
So,
Duke. You were wrong. He's doing quack fu again.
oh yeah, I thought he only mentioned it. Sorry.
Well,
Also,
okay,
I don't know if I could qualify that as quack fu. He kicked a guy.
well, but he did
That's like
say
saying I'm doing quack fu right now by tapping my toes.
You know what that reminds me of, though?
But
That reminds me of right after in the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie, right after we see the Ninja Turtles take out a whole bunch of foot soldiers with whatever's laying around and like ducking under shells and thing, or like one token ducking under a shell thing. We immediately hear Shredder say, "You fight well in the old style." That's one of my favorite moments in that movie. It's so
the old
funny.
style of
In the old
hijinks.
style. But see that movie got that it was the tongue in cheekness of that. I mean, like that was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. This movie is just I don't know.
See, maybe there are certain moves. Oh, that kid had an Empire Strikes Back shirt on.
And of course, Jennings thinks this is hilarious. I wonder
See,
what
see, I
movies
was
he's
waiting,
watching.
Duke. I was waiting to see if you would do that. You just called him Jennings because Jennings is such an awkward name.
Oh, is it not Jennings? I always assumed it
It's
was
not.
Jennings.
It's just Jennings.
Well,
And
that's the writer's fault.
that's I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that isn't somebody's last name, but usually you hear Jennings, and it just becomes an awkward thing because, you know, that's not a criticism, really. It's just funny
Oh well.
because I kind of
Oh
thought you
my
might do
god,
that.
Cap,
That's the
he's
point
sweating.
it.
That's all I got out of that scene. Also, why do all these people want him dead? And apparently he went through makeup changes in between scenes.
Yeah. Why after all that exposition about Dark Lord of the Universe does Beverly still think that the guy with the lightning powers is on her side?
I mean, I would have.
No, go help him. You gotta go help Howard.
Wait a minute. He's back to like before they had his. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't really complain about the continuity errors of this movie. That's just
But
mean.
you're this this guy with the knife.
I know that guy knows what he's in, and I appreciate that. See what I mean? Like when it cuts to those certain shots, the makeup looks different.
Okay,
It's from a different. Okay, now she realizes something bad's happening.
what was the Dark Overlord sitting there doing, just waiting for Howard to get killed? Like he knows he saw the code key get taken,
Maybe he was
and
really
then Beverly
contemplating
goes,
having a beer.
"Hey, they've got the code key." He's still just pissed about his eggs. That's all it
Fuck
is.
my eggs.
He's like, "Oh wait a minute, you're right. They do have the code key."
I was contemplating what I was going to do without it for the last 5 minutes, but now I know where it is.
I do like some of the word choice with him. Some of his vernacular is pretty funny. Release the waterfowl.
Yeah, it sounds alien.
That's kind of fun.
He doesn't speak. Well, he definitely doesn't speak like any of the people here.
Oh, you know what? We haven't talked about Howard's, stupid, ironic, I can't swim thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of amusing to me. Again, that's a thing that you could make work. But, because, I mean, okay, he's just a human that looks like a duck, because on his planet, they're basically humans. So, yeah, they would all have to know how to swim.
By the way, because this is a George Lucas movie, all I'm thinking is this is what he thinks the Sith are actually like. Just waving cleavers around and sparkling and laughing while they do it.
I was just going to say, it's funny that the first time he says I can't swim, he's being thrown into a pool that's like 2 inches deep.
Yes, I do remember that.
Or a foot deep. Like I don't know. It's really funny to me.
It'd be funny if he acted like he was drowning and he just stood up normally.
Closing time.
Endless possibilities.
But you can't stay here.
I was about to say this movie unfortunately set itself up for that song. That's how you can tell you're watching a really bad movie, when it unintentionally sets itself up for songs.
Again, 10 years before that song came out. But
that's how this movie predicted the future, Cap.
I know who I wanna
Okay, I seriously want you to do a whole video of you singing that song in that voice. That will finally be the video you've been wishing for, the one where no one would watch it.
I think the Howard the Duck movie would make for a great video game if you played as the Dark Overlord of the universe.
Yes.
And you just went around shocking the hell out of people, and then like you'd run down your power, and then you'd have to go to power stations to get more
And
power.
your power stations would again be cars with cigarette lighters.
Yeah,
You could
that'd be one of the many things that you could. Yeah, actually, that would be a really solid video game, dude.
I'll pitch it
Yeah,
to Ubisoft
telekinesis.
tomorrow morning.
I gotta tell you, it is really weird talking about this movie right after doing a rewind on Chronicle.
Yeah, that because I mean they're very similar movies.
No, but
I'm
just
kidding. Don't no one
he's
yell at
got
me for that.
he's got telekinesis, and I don't know.
This is what it would happen if he went on with those superpowers and lived the game.
Is that what it is? He would just become one of the Dark Overlords of the universe?
Yes.
See, he has the same philosophy. He's got that whole might makes right thing, you know?
Yeah, precisely. And then it gets you really confused about code keys, and he can't decide if he wants eggs or not. And it's
And I don't know, I suppose it's possible that whatever made the kids in Chronicle get telekinesis was there because scientists were tampering with things with powers of the universe they didn't understand. I guess it's possible.
yes. Also, I now love the idea that this is canon with Chronicle.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
But see, it still happens first. Like, this is a prequel to Chronicle.
Yeah.
And
this is a prequel to Chronicle.
yes, and the beam they sent out of the universe brought down a Dark Overlord of the universe that got trapped in some crystals, and then I don't know how the crystals got there, but it got trapped in there, and then they're trying to escape, and then just their powers instead of their intellect goes into whoever touches the crystals. See.
Wow, Cap, you did take up my challenge of making sense of this movie. Not with itself, but with a different movie.
I mean, it makes as much sense as this movie does.
Yeah. I give you credit. You did a lot there, buddy. You get a Nobel Prize.
Thanks. Yeah, try to beat up the Dark Lord of the Universe. That'll work.
I love how she's just like, you meanie! Like a 5-year-old.
Oh, man, you killed my best friend.
I don't like you anymore. I want to go home.
I mean, I'm not saying that she wouldn't react. I just think that reaction was odd and maybe really stereotypical weakling girl, right?
I also love her first assumption was, no, don't get me wrong. He said, I want your body. And she's like, creep. Like, do you really think so, lady? Just don't. Don't talk to him. Don't pay him any mind. Pretend he's not there.
This also sets up some weird convoluted stuff for the ending, and it's weird using the word convoluted with this movie because so little is happening through most of it. You'd think this plot would not be that hard to make work.
Yeah, for a movie where nothing's going on, it makes you think things are happening, but they're not.
He says, in order for my kind to exist on your Earth, we need your body, which is funny because it unintentionally sounds like specifically her.
I love this shot, by the way. It looks like they stole special effects from The Thing.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, so they need human vessels essentially, not to just control, but to be birthed out of, apparently.
Yeah.
And at first, I got the sense the first time I saw this. The first time I saw this in a lot of years. I saw this when I was a kid, by the way, and it absolutely freaked me out. But because I just didn't understand what I was watching.
Yeah, I could buy that.
I would understand it, and I feel, I think my 8 or 9-year-old watch of this was not all that different from my 20-something watch of this. But anyway, so I mean, I know what a condom is now, but yeah, that's about it. But
doesn't that make the story so much richer?
Yes, absolutely. There are layers now. It's like with pie. Anyway, but this idea that he's standing underneath a duck. I didn't catch that before.
I thought that was a chicken.
Is it a chicken? I just saw the leg. Oh, is it? Oh, okay, it's a duck under a chicken.
I think it's a chicken.
Is it? Oh, it is a chicken. Yeah. It's a duck under a chicken.
Do you people see what this movie's doing to us?
I just looked at the leg. I wasn't looking at the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you, but I saw a chicken earlier, and I'm glad we had a shot of the chicken to establish that.
But at first, let me try to finish this. I thought that the idea was that, oh, she's a woman, so it's gonna be like birthed out of it.
Like the
Birthed
bad
out
guys
of
from
her.
SG-1.
Yeah, like that, or like or like Satan in Constantine,
Or the bad
and
guy from Ghostbusters 2.
yeah, there's a thing in Angel with Cordelia.
Also, Star Wars Dark Empire has that plot too. I know we're just naming things, but
But then it turns out that it could be anybody because it basically the same thing with Jennings. And then at the end, they're just coming through.
yeah,
I mean, like, was the idea supposed to be that he is uh
like
that he's paralyzing Phil and Beverly because he's going to use them as vessels, or are they just coming through?
or is he
But
trying to plan like some sort of secret invasion or what?
then they do, or no, actually they don't come through. But you have the big, if memory serves, you have the big. I guess we'll talk about it when we get there. But you have the big monster. But like, was that because it got to grow enough coming out of Jennings? I guess is that the idea?
I don't. Again,
Okay.
like I said, I'm glad you're thinking really hard about this movie.
Well, I'm just trying to sort it out. I'm gonna have to write about this
Oh,
plot.
look, they're going over to where Homer Simpson works.
Yeah.
Again, that'd be great because actual comedy could happen if we went there. Well, depending on what era.
Actual comedy.
Actual comedy. That's a great praise for a movie. It contains
They
actual comedy.
they get there. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
wait,
Now
wait. You know what I
100%
love?
more comedy.
Cap, I just noticed something. I noticed that the sushi part of that sign is covering something up. As if it was bought out and they said, let's try sushi.
If it was the Springfield nuclear plant, it would have pink clouds over it.
Yes, and fish with 3 eyes.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so
Why is this scene happening?
we're into what this plays out like a kind of a big climactic action, or not a climactic action scene because I guess that's with the monster, but
Wouldn't that
like
require like
you've got
tension to
your
be
you got
climactic?
your big yeah yeah you that's a good point, but you've got your big kind of obligatory chase scene leading up to your big climactic action scene, I guess is the way I should put it,
in the most unlikely bizarre vehicle ever.
and it goes on for days.
Yeah, like you feel like
Goes
not you
on
feel
and
like they've gone
on.
the only thing they've accomplished is they've gone through zaniness, wackiness, and even some capering.
Yeah, and a guy who's again learned nothing, not become any more cowardly, and now Howard's just used to it and talks to him like he's his best friend sometimes. What is with
To
this
be fair,
Philzy
Cap, that's how
thing?
you and me talk sometimes.
I know early on in the movie there yeah, I'm more consistent, I think, but early on there is one place I noticed where he calls the guy Philzy, just kind of making fun of him, but now it's almost like a term of endearment just
Come
because
on,
they're
Philzy, we're
but
buddies, we're pals.
he's been calling him that since he just happened to see him in the cop car.
Yeah.
And it's like now we're gonna go into the scene that makes us buddies, but we're already buddies just because there's a guy I know that can help me with a thing. It's absolutely preposterous. Also, we didn't talk about this with Phil. I want to mention this real quick too. That earlier on, much earlier in the movie, Phil's like, "Oh, I can help you. I can help figure out where you came from, so that you can get home." And he's got this weird like his motivation is he wants to get famous off of Howard,
Mm-hmm.
but then he does that, and I don't know how that would help make him famous.
Yeah.
And then he helps him do that, and then or he's trying to help him do that, and then when they think that they figured out a way to send him home, then he's like, "Oh God, don't go through with it." Howard's like, "You were the vehicle to make this happen. I don't understand you."
Also, I love how no one at that like meeting tour of the research plant are staring at him right now like you don't look right. Did you walk through the generator? Because he
did you
does.
did you sleep here overnight?
No one bats an eye. Also, they apparently have the same security that most malls have.
That's awesome. I like the visitor's jacket. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, with a giant visitor's name tag. Everyone gets their own helmet too. Oh, good. Now he's walking into heaven.
Yeah, or possibly he's gonna, or possibly he's going through a quantum leap right now.
Or he's going into that room in Power Rangers where Billy saw them making the White Ranger powers.
See, I was resisting a Power Rangers reference
Not when I'm here.
about this whole
Not when I'm here, buddy.
section. He'd make a decent Power Rangers villain.
Yeah, like, I could. He would at least be better than the villains in Operation Overdrive.
I would cast that guy as a big budget Master of Vile.
Yes, but I mean, we already had a big budget Master Vile. Come on, Cap.
No, we didn't. What are you talking
That
about?
movie was nothing but special effects and and amazingness. I don't.
Master of Vile wasn't in a movie.
Oh, I'm
What are you
thinking of
talking
Ivan
about?
Ooze. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm talking about.
This movie's not making me smarter, Cap. Get off me.
Look, I will see your Power Rangers reference and raise you a third season.
Okay, you win. I actually like the third season more than any of them.
I
Mighty
do
Morphin.
too.
I think out of Mighty Morphin, it's my favorite.
There's some fun stuff in that. Anyway, and it
Oh
makes
no,
more sense
not
that
Duck Hunters. That's terrifying.
there's just it's just conveniently there's duck stuff everywhere. It's duck hunting season and just everywhere.
Yep.
You know what we should be doing, of course, is we should be playing Duck Hunt while we're watching this movie.
Oh, I'll be the dog.
Like,
Just giggle at you every time you fail. Oh,
hey, stop that! I'm one of the dark overlords of the universe.
respect me. Good God.
I have a cousin named Zorak.
That would make total sense.
Wouldn't it be really funny if, well, this wouldn't make sense, but whatever. Would it be really funny if those guys were duck calling, and then Howard was like, oh, mating scene, and then he, like, just turned the plane, and then he was like, oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
see, Duke, this is supposed to be ironically funny, because, see, he's a duck without wings, and he can't fly.
Yeah.
See?
The symbolism is deep. I can't wait for Steve to do a 2-hour video on it.
I wanted, after I watched this again in preparation for this commentary, I really wanted to go get in one of those that's called something, I forget. I
don't know the name either.
I wanted to go get in one of those planes
Mm-hmm.
and see if I could figure out how to work it faster than Howard did.
I think it's called a Hydra Light. I have no idea.
Yes, that's what
it is. Okay.
You can't tell me that that it's that hard to get that plane off the ground, even if you've never flown one before. Like.
I'm pretty sure there was
would be that complicated.
I'm pretty sure I know someone who went to like a hour-long class to work one of those. So yeah. Also, I'm trying to figure out what he looks like right now. What Jennings looks like, and
I am not Jack. I like that line too. That's pretty funny.
And again, I love all the effects they make of it. I think they look great.
That's very Ghostbusters.
Oh, right yeah. There. Oh, that totally looks like, especially like he's all white and red eyes and all that.
I am really glad that we got a good transfer release of this. Like I only saw it on TV when I was a kid, and for the longest time it wasn't on DVD at all. Mm-hmm. And this transfer looks really good.
Oh yeah, and we're just looking on a DVD, the two of us. So.
Yes, I mean the Blu-ray might have even upped the quality a little bit.
Also, I'm curious because I looked at the windshield just a second ago. I'm guessing that was just them doing multiple takes of shooting it or whatever. Because why are there like 8 shots when they only shot him once? Unless they used buckshot, but I don't think it would make holes that big.
You know what I just thought of? We could have made Jennings a really tragic character by when he gets his mind back, his face still looks like that.
Yeah, that would be kind of sad.
And then, because it's like, he didn't do anything to deserve this, except that, I don't know if we ever are really told exactly, like, what the hierarchy of the scientists is and how that device got built, because he could be he could be being made to pay for his, like, scientific hubris. Like it could be that kind of story.
God, we weren't meant to tower in God's domain. Yeah, it made you look ugly.
That's right. yeah, it turns you into the Emperor from Star Wars.
With a terrible back problem. Again, honestly, the only thing that's different from the opening of the movie to the ending is Howard is still on Earth.
Yeah.
and he has a different job, but that's because
and
he's not
he's
on. That's because he's not on Duck World.
and he's more okay with it. But the other thing, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the biggest missteps with Howard's character is that we're not given enough of a uh, we're not going to given a satisfying explanation as to why he wants to get back home so badly.
Besides, I
Because
want to go home.
because I mean, like you've got a little bit of this, Earth is strange and foreign to me, and I don't like the hairless apes, even though I kind of sort of considered sleeping with one. Um, but like he hasn't had any success on his planet.
Mm-hmm.
He's disgruntled. He's unhappy.
Like you don't get like
There should be a conversation about that,
yeah,
right?
like even if he said, "What about my
What does he have to go
family
back to?
or
Yeah,
friends?"
he's
He doesn't mention
exactly.
that at all.
Yeah,
All we get is a
yeah,
photo of
nothing.
him like when she was looking for his wallet. There's a picture of him with his parents and a picture of him on a beach, and that's it.
And we don't see that in any kind of context of him looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. We
It's just her
oh
going through his wallet so that we can have more silly photos. Like that. That's not there to give his character any more dimension. That's just there because they wanted to shoot a bunch of that stuff and they thought it was funny.
yeah. All we know about this guy is he's very passive aggressive. That's about it.
Yeah, he's sarcastic. He's passive aggressive,
He
and
might
I
have
mean,
had an interest in music, but that's barely touching.
well, we know he had an interest in music because he played a song.
Because
Um,
as we all
I
know,
should
everyone who plays a song in a movie loves music, even if he
Well, no, but
sucks.
we saw. I'm just saying we saw a picture of his band. He talks about his
Oh yeah,
band,
yeah.
and he also says that that's what he was really wanting to do, and he had to have a day job in order to do it. So like, I just don't think it's fair to say it's barely touched
Yeah,
on.
he doesn't. Yeah, okay, fine. That was me just being overcritical, but again, there's no grand realizing that maybe you can make a life here. Maybe it's not important. I feel like the only
No, it
reason
just
he
happens
doesn't
for
go
him.
home is because he doesn't have the way to go home.
Yeah.
Like he just
Well, no, that's
accepts
not
it.
fair because he does finally choose not to go home so that he can save his friends. So it is supposed to be a I care more about these people than I do about go. But again,
We
you've
didn't
got to
we didn't see any of the steps to get there. We're just there.
we yeah, we didn't. The movie's confused about what kind of relationship he's ultimately gonna end up having with Beverly. That's a thing. I'm not gonna say that relationship doesn't work at all and that they have no chemistry. I kind of like them together a little bit, but I don't.
Well,
I
I
also
think
don't
that's Leah
understand who they are.
Thompson. I
So
think that's
that's a
them. I
thing.
think that's the actor. Well, Leah Thompson,
Yeah,
voice
put her in
actress.
a Muppet movie, right?
Why not?
Because she. I'm just saying because she knows how to act with like I mean, this isn't a puppet. This is a little person in a costume. But she knows how to act with things that don't look human.
Yeah, well, she also knows how to act with something that can't talk to her because I'm sure
Yeah.
because I know I think they mentioned that you couldn't hear you could barely hear a sound from him and he could barely hear anything from there. So you kind of like most costumes like this, you kind of had to shout at him to get anything out of him.
Well, that's not what they did ultimately. They tried that for a second. It didn't work. So
Well,
so
also
they
wasn't
just
one
had
of the
somebody.
early actors like a 12-year-old kid
Yeah, but they just had somebody read the lines off camera.
and just have him stand there like a goofball.
Yeah, and then they said that syncing it up with the voice actor was a nightmare. But
One of my
people
favorite awful
anybody
classic.
watching this with us has all that stuff on the DVD.
Mhm. Also, I love hearing that that's how they did it because that's exactly how they did one of my favorite classic Doctor Who's that I love to laugh at called Horror of the
The
Dreadnought.
neutron disintegrator. Now the question is, does it disintegrate neutrons or is it powered by neutrons and it disintegrates things?
That's a good question. Also, I just love that labs and all kinds of fiction have that ability. Oh, we just happen to have this on hand. Good for us.
that's another line that absolutely cracks me up. Go ahead, turn me into a dark overlord.
Also, he looks like Dr. Wily now.
He does. That's true.
Yeah, this you could use footage for this for a fan trailer for a Mega Man movie. I
This could also be a prequel for a Mega Man movie.
so it could so
Actually, that
Mega
doesn't
Man
work because he would
Chronicle
have
and
to
Howard the Duck
stay.
all exist in the same universe. Thanks, Kev.
Yes.
You are creating
Yeah.
fan fiction we didn't know we needed. Keep hitting it with that hammer, Filzy. After like 2 swings. I love also that they have to bring up it's never been tested.
Yeah, of course. You've always got to have that in there
Just
because
it gives you a sense of danger without
that's
actually
right.
adding anything.
That's right. It builds tension, Duke.
Or like they could have been even worse and had it not work for a second, and all of a sudden it does work really well.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
this movie's obviously working off of some kind of fill in the gaps script, so why not? Just put this here, put this here. It's like a Mad Lib, except it was written by people like me who say really stupid things to confuse the story.
Duke, I'll take you up on that challenge too. I will write a short story
Yes,
based on a Mad Lib.
go for it, buddy.
I will do it. Okay, when this is over, or sometime, we will get Duke. You and I will get out a Mad Lib book, and I'll have you do the Mad Libs. Like I'll have you pick all the words, and then I'll write a short story based on the Mad Lib.
It'll be a better story than what we're watching.
That'll be the goal, is to try to see if we can make that better than Howard the Duck. This is the scene that I most remember from when I was a kid.
Especially because they make a big deal about when Howard sits in that stupid cart thing that it won't move up the seatbelt on because of a safety feature, and yet it's doing all this wacky nonsense right now.
Yeah, and the way it watched last time I saw it was, oh, put on your seatbelt, and now it drives.
Apparently, that function glitches out like heck because
That's
that's
weird.
almost as annoying as when the car tells you to put on your seatbelt. Okay, maybe I got those mixed up.
I really
Also,
got
why
this.
is there a bunch of film in that thing?
Um.
Are they making a movie here?
And action.
No, no, no. You need to act more.
Take six.
You're not giving me the energy I need in this performance.
You need more power.
Uh, get the stand in. I'm going to my trailer.
Why is he British now?
Why the hell not?
Why? I need to go to my trailer. I'm going to get there by way of lift.
Stay away from me, Tim Robbins. I can't not do it in that voice like that now. Damn it.
I want to take the Dark Lord of the universe, the Dark Overlord of the universe, and have him do PSAs like, "Don't do drugs, kids."
It makes you look like me.
This is Dr. Jennings. This is Dr. Jennings on drugs. I used to be human. Now I'm something else.
Oh God, you nearly killed me.
These are Dr. Jennings eggs. These are my eggs.
I want
on drugs.
You know what would be truly great is if I can't breathe.
Turbocharge.
No. What would be great is if
Okay.
you know what? I want to keep going with this PSA thing. You do like one of those GI Joe things where kids are just like casually playing basketball, and then one of them almost like runs into a street, and he's like, "Hold on, kids, Dr. Jennings." That's right. Okay, I think we spent that joke. Oh God, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Okay, so back to this nuts. Sorry, we were laughing. Let's watch this movie.
Don't be a bully, kids. You turn out like me.
Cap, I have a new idea for you. we need you to dress up like him and do these. I'm sure everyone would agree.
I don't know if I want to go through all that makeup, but
hey, you're the one who set it up. I'm just suggesting it. Also,
I like that he spit on the floor like he was about to give a pitch on a baseball mound. Like, and now the wind up.
Batter up. Where's my chewing tobacco?
He's got acid chewing tobacco.
Well, have you ever seen chewing tobacco? It might as well be.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't like smoke though when it hits the ground.
Over time, it does, Cap. I've seen it. Also, because of the like.
Once again, these special effects are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, for the day, you know, you're gonna have that but there's a lot of charm to me, for that like on cell animation.
Oh yeah.
I really dig
because we
that.
don't do that anymore.
No, and I mean, I think it looks as well integrated as it can.
Oh yeah, like we keep saying, this had a big budget. There are movies that wish they could have this budget that are truly good.
Isn't this movie bizarre in that it's one of those really well made or relatively well made movies.
Kind of reminds me of Superman 3 or Supergirl. Actually, more Supergirl.
Except that Supergirl had some effects problems.
Yeah, but I'd still say that I've seen better movies with worse effects than that. But I see
No,
it.
no, that's true, but
Yeah,
you
this is
could
more
see the writing on
solid.
screen here in a way you couldn't there. Like some of the flying in that was nonsense.
Okay, you're right.
Um,
I just reminded myself of the scene
we
of
were
her
spinning around and
emerging
stuff.
from the water as a cardboard
Yeah, yeah,
cutout.
that was a strange choice given the cardboard Supergirl that comes out of the water, and then when you listen to the commentary from the writer, like the guy, or no, I think it was the no, I think it was Jenna Schwartz, the director. He is so proud of that.
I mean, Cap, that takes a
It's
lot of time
hilarious.
and money to do that. It's not
Now
like
I
you
will
and me
say
can
that
do that right now.
not Schwartz, Swark. I
Or
will say though
Jennings, I don't know.
that Swark. My name is Swark Jennings. Jenna Swark. No,
and
he is a decent TV director though.
yeah, and
Um,
also I think
he did
this
he did
effect
some
here is the best
decent
thing in
small
the
episodes.
movie. This thing here looks amazing.
You're kidding,
I
right?
love it so much.
Yeah, I mean it's hilarious. If you can get, I mean, you had the Ed 209 thing.
But didn't the same guy do this, Phil Tippett?
I think
Yeah, he
so.
did. I know he did this, and he did RoboCop. So yeah,
I will say I'm not sure
the
why we couldn't
design
have
looks
color.
really bad, but I think the actual like stop motion looks great.
I don't know why we couldn't have color corrected though to make it look more like it fits the background. That's a thing.
You know what, Cap? Just this movie's almost over. Don't argue.
I don't really understand that, but okay. Also, it's hard not to look back on this and think, wow, Men in Black ripped this thing
Yeah, it
off.
does look like something out of Men in Black, especially like the alien in
It
the
looks a
opening
lot
scene.
like the. No, I'm talking about the alien at the end of that. The guy in the Edgar suit turns into,
It looks like a mishmash of that and the thing from the
and the
opening.
thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was wearing an Edgar
Also, this
suit,
looks like Jennings after even more drugs.
and he asked for sugar water.
I want to see the Overlord hang out with that guy now.
I also think that this movie could easily be in the Men in Black universe.
Okay, Cap, make this a prequel to Men in Black. Go.
We, yeah, it's part of Men in Black and Chronicle and Mega Man.
It this was really the DC cinematic universe before the DC cinematic universe. It it somehow connected to
And
movies that
also,
came out far after it. Movies and
yeah,
games that came out. Wait, did Mega Man come after this?
nah, 86. We already had a Mega Man by then, I
Okay,
think.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
I think I'll check, but I think so.
Oh, good, they got their cable installed. I want to watch some wrestling now. Come on.
Okay, so yeah, what's going on here? Like, why doesn't he just kill those guys?
Also, I love their little hop before they get they get hit by the lasers.
Oh no, 87 was the first Mega Man
Oh,
game.
okay.
Right after this.
Huh.
It's fun to look at things like this and then see all the other really good things that came out that year. Like Watchmen came out this year.
Yeah. Also, I love that Howard does the same thing to the alien that Megan Fox does to Frenzy and Transformers.
Wow.
Remember where
Cable.
she just takes like an electric, like a power saw and just attacks him? Which is the most sensical thing in that movie. Someone just charging at him with power tools.
I love how I'm looking at this and I'm supposed to care that Phil might die.
He's pivotal to the entire story,
I
Cap.
don't know what.
Again, this
He's a different character moment to moment, right?
it's almost like he. I wonder if he was like a bunch of different characters they folded into one, and they kept all the personalities. So that's why he's so crazy.
Either that or he's just a total coward all the time, and then kind of likes these people, but he'd still run off at any sign of danger, and that's supposed to be funny and charming in its
Because
way or
being a
something.
coward's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is this thing constantly doing to them?
I don't know.
Are they being teleported to the Enterprise?
Are they being? Yeah, I was gonna say they're being made out of phase. Like,
Oh no, they're not rendering properly.
oh man, now the monster's in trouble. The beam is purple.
I mean, it hit him directly in the eyes. He's gonna need clear eyes to get that all fixed.
Clear eyes.
Well, this movie would make just as much sense if Ben Stein. Oh no, the Enterprise sent him back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so they don't meet the same fate as that guy in Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
And by that you mean being in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That was the term.
No, there's like a
Yeah,
transporter.
I know. I'm making a joke
Oh.
about how being in that movie is much more painful than dying in it. You see, it's really clever. Let me explain it for the next 5 minutes.
I don't think it's painful to be in that movie as much as it is
boring.
Just kind of dull to watch it sometimes. But yeah.
Also, Phil's hair is insane right now. Look at when he cut back to him. Look at him. That's what
He looks
being
like
zapped by lasers does to you.
Yeah, it makes you look like a dark overlord of the universe.
Or again, like you're in an '80s music video, which is appropriate, I guess. Oh, great! Now he looks like he's in a video game carrying that.
I'm not gonna lie though, Duke. If somebody tomorrow put out the action figure of Howard the Duck holding that giant freaking gun, I would so buy that.
I'd buy it. I'd pose it right on my shelf.
I would totally buy that
because that is a glorious image.
Yeah, he comes with Howard the Duck with neutron disintegrator.
Make it happen, Hasbro. We'll buy 2 at least. Well, the janitor's going to be really angry when he comes in tomorrow.
Oh, you mean Phil?
I forgot.
Oh boy, thanks for that.
Well, he's dead.
Dude, I have to say that this has not felt like the slog it did watching it with another person. Like, I think it is a movie that starts to feel like more of a so bad it's good kind of experience when you're watching it with someone else.
Yeah. But then, yeah, like this and Batman and Robin definitely feel like that. Because if you were watching this alone, you'd be sad.
This is supposed to be the big character arc thing. Is the world didn't treat him well, but he saves it anyway.
Which is kind of that you basically summed up the actual character, but this movie doesn't do that at all. So
it just doesn't quite. And I feel like this joke on Howard's part is in really bad taste.
Yeah. But also,
like, if you're these people in the moment, that's not
fitting funny. With how stupid he acts earlier with like the thing exploding and when we all thought Jennings was dead. Like, fortunately it's fitting. And look how happy she is hugging that creepy puppet.
I do think it's funny. I do think it's funny that Phil is still wearing handcuffs. Did they ever get shattered? Or, I mean, did they ever get shattered? Did they ever get cut? Or is he just wearing the bracelets? Or
it's really comfortable. I wouldn't wear them on one arm.
Okay, now, this is one of my big questions about this movie, Duke.
Okay.
Now they're playing hear me out. Now they're playing in front of a giant crowd.
Also,
what happened? Hold on. What happened between the last scene and now that made them famous?
They won the lottery?
I mean, like you could say that we didn't show it, but like the public knows about Howard the Duck now, and that somehow helped them get famous. But I don't know. And like, how far after all those events is this? I don't know.
Also, I was wrong. There is another big character change. Phil became a stage manager.
Yeah,
that's good for him.
Well, what's funny about that to me is that he was obviously never cut out to be an actual scientist.
Yes.
So I like that he's just a stage manager now. That's pretty great. There's no reason that we had to set up we had to contrive this situation for Howard to accidentally wind up on stage. Why not just put him on stage?
Yeah, just have him do like the Chuck Berry thing with the guitar. We're all fine.
Especially because just in case this stupid accidental thing ever happened, they just happen to have a tiny guitar lying around for him.
Well, don't you have a tiny guitar lying around just in case?
And when he comes down, they have like pyrotechnics set up for it, even though that wasn't supposed to happen. That's
they're
weird.
just aware that he's going to screw it up, so they have it set in case.
All you have to do is take that part out, and this scene is fine.
Well, it's a scene.
No, I just mean it makes some kind of sense. Oh,
You don't need wacky. This
what
movie's
do you think?
almost done. You can live without one more wacky hijinks moment.
Duke, what do you think of this song?
Well, I have it on mute right now, so I think it's amazing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Howard
Well,
the Duck.
that that that
I'm
mean,
reading the lyrics though.
that means that you won't get it stuck in your head for the next 3 weeks like I will,
I'm sorry, Cap.
having watched this movie twice this week.
Well, to be fair, by the time I got to this, when I was watching it, like a few days ago, I kind of zoned out. I was just
Okay,
talking to my friend.
two more things about the scene real quick. First of all, I didn't catch that he said it. He goes a little purple haze. That's kind of funny because he shot that guy with purple energy. And second of all, the chords that they're playing under the song is that song that he was playing earlier in the apartment.
Well, at least that makes sense. She heard that song.
And I think that's kind of a neat idea that like she developed his song and turned it into her big hit, probably her big hit.
And then
I mean,
Howard
they're
sued her for
obviously
millions
famous.
of dollars.
Look how giant this crowd is. They're obviously a successful rock band.
Or there was a thing that said free beer on all the posters.
Yeah, or it's just Battle of the Bands.
They're the opening act.
Yeah, yeah.
The real band will show up. They're just, for some reason, they're really enthusiastic about the opening band.
Then there's an after credit scene, and the winner is some other band.
Yeah, some band no one's ever heard of, and it's like Rush or something.
It's funny that band's called Cherry Bomb, and there's an actual band called Cherry Bomb.
And also that this movie was a bomb. Buzzing!
Oh, it could have been any kind of fruit. It didn't really matter. You know, it could have been an orange
Avocado bomb,
yellow,
kiwi bomb,
yeah,
starfruit
yellow's not a
bomb,
fruit. What am I talking about? Banana bomb.
starfruit bomb.
I can't make a duck joke because ducks don't have like a particular fruit that's associated with them.
Well, to be
Really.
fair, that there was a moment. I remember this line when I watched it a few days ago, where he's like, "What was it? It was like, I don't know," but he said beak, and I'm like, "You're a duck. You don't have a beak."
You know, now that I'm listening to this, and I know you've got it on mute, but now that I'm listening a little closer to this Howard the Duck theme,
I just unmuted it. It sounds like a news broadcast.
Okay, this part does. You're right, but before that, it really sounds like a space theme. It sounds like it should belong to something like The Last Starfighter or something. And I think it's doing that on purpose because he's from space. And like in all the interviews, again on the special features on this, they make a really big deal. He's a duck from space, but like the movie's not really. I mean, okay. It's a sci-fi thing, but its focus is so skewed and all over the place that I keep kind of forgetting that.
Yeah. Also, I'm reading the credits. Earlier, it said consultant to producers Steve Gerber. That's his big credit in the movie.
Well, no, he also got.
I know, but I just love that. That's actually when I read that, it's like he told them everything. And he's like, yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah, you're right. Usually that means we went to a diner and they brought us eggs.
And then Steve Gerber was perfectly fine, and the producers got really offended for some reason.
He goes, they took my eggs!
I still think him doing the PSA is the funny thing. Can we do another one before this is over?
When you go to the office, remember to bring your key card.
Don't hang around in abandoned refrigerators, kids.
What?
That was a G.I. Joe PSA.
Oh.
Where they literally tell you don't go to junkyards and hang. Wait a minute. Wow, there's a lot of people who were Howard. I thought it was just like 3.
Well, there were a bunch of stunt performers.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. I thought there were only like 3 stunt performers.
Now, this may be a comic book thing, but the Howard T. Duck thing always bugged me.
Yeah.
It's like, you're on a world where it's all ducks, and I mean, I guess it's like Jones or Smith. You just have
what's his middle name?
You just have the most common last name. But I mean, like really, that would be like, okay, I guess in America we have the last name Man.
apparently that
That's
narrator
awesome.
from earlier is the voice of the Cosmos, played by Richard Kiley.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm looking him up to find out who that guy is. I'm the voice of the cosmos.
It's not him.
I'm sorry, I meant voice of the cosmos. Excuse me. What did you say his name was?
Richard Kiley?
Richard Kiley?
Kiley.
Okay.
Unless the font made me misread that, I don't know.
No. He died in 99. He was born in 22. And he was in. It looks like he was a character actor. And it looks like he did some narration things and other things too.
Hey, if you can get paid for it, why not?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, he was the tour voice in Jurassic Park.
I'm glad he went on to bigger and better things.
That's hilarious. Now I love this. He's credited as the narrator in a few things, and then his credit for Howard the Duck, even on the wiki page, is the Cosmos. I love that.
It's the voice of the Cosmos. Get it right, IMDb.
It's the voice of the. I want to play the Cosmos.
Well,
anyway,
he's my favorite Marvel character.
My favorite is the Cosmos. Well, everybody, thanks always for listening. We sure appreciate it, and we will see you again on a later commentary. We were talking about this earlier. I guess Duke is kind of the not so great superhero movie guy with me now.
I'm proud to carry that moniker. We already have the next one selected.
Oh, do we?
We agreed on Catwoman, didn't we?
Oh, yes, we did. Yeah, yes, we did.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks again for listening, folks. Sure hope you enjoyed it. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Duke.
See you later.